that how we are, what is happening in the climate change. Climate change in Pakistan is that we are not actually contributed to polluting the environment that much, but we have issues of floods and these irregular monsoon and all these issues which relates to flooding. That is also one of the key subjects in it. Of course, the fourth subject, which I said in the beginning, is also very, I would say, important and crucial. That is how India behaves with Pakistan diplomatically. And is there a possibility that Pakistan and India keep this section out of the other disputes? Because our core dispute is Kashmir, of course, and the way India has illegally intervened, occupied, and our Indus Water Treaty commissioner. One thing which I would like to point out, I'm sure all of you looking at that there are, like a book, we have shaped this backdrop, and we have this Islamabad dialogue. This is our flagship project, which is we have just initiated. And this project actually relates to subjects which will be discussed next year. But this is just to give you an idea and record that this idea we have initiated with the special experts who would then give their recommendation and possibilities of implementation to the state. Or we are not really in terms of that as we are initiating this dialogue. So in order to, of course, dialogue to say it to you. And I would like to thank actually all of you who have just come here, especially dear students, because they are the future leaders and they are the future team. Don't switch off your phone, just mute them. And please don't go out, come in and out. The speakers as well, it also shows that sometimes speakers feel the disinterest unless they want to go out. And the third thing is that please ask the statutes and institutions. So these are a few of my requests. Kindly do adhere them if you can. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Participants, students, it's really very pleasure for me on this important issue. Water crisis, as you know from the topic, that how much it is important also for the human resources and for the other areas. What is their development, their economic development, their health, the health of the people, the free coin, number of water resources for the permanent footing. So similarly, the rain or definitely the snow glacier, and the snow glacier, that is also basically the weather system situation. So due to the melting from the snow or from the glaciers, if such type of a situation is depletion in the glacier depleting, so that's definitely very dangerous. And what the water resources. If we look into the as per the scenario, if we go for the next century, in 8.5 scenario, so that's rise from 4 degrees Celsius much more in the northern parts of the country. So you look that if the temperature in a coming century, so that's more than 4 degrees. So what would be the status of the snow and the glacier, which is basic requirement, because the water resource people, they know that the most flow that is coming to the melting, and that is entirely due to the glacier. Though at that part of, if we check the Indus Basin, the Torbela reservoir, that entirely their most dependence on the snow melting and glaciers. Mangla, so that is up to some extent depend upon that. So if this is the situation, the temperature, which I said, what the model says that it should have to be increased within this 4 degree or more than that in a coming century. So what would be the status of these? So it's really what the crisis is now, so that should be enhanced in a future as well. So there is, it must. For the rain, but the most important thing that how much we would have to manage that rainwater. In an average, if the average rain that is in a Pakistan, more than 200 million acre feet water, that is if we not without any the annual rainfall in a Pakistan. So overall, is the weather system is depending in a Pakistan, so that entirely in a favor of the uh, water resource, enhance the water resources. But as per the climate change is concerned and the management is concerned, if we cannot move forward and not manage that water, so definitely that would be in a crisis situation. So that's why the water crisis, it's a very important. Mostly, as I said, that those countries which we have seen that the drought situation and their economic development, their health, all these things is very dependent on the water resources. So I hope that if we cannot manage this water system, the water resources which is available at the present, it would in a future. We have studied that in a, I said in a 8.5 and a 4.5 scenario. That's really very dangerous with respect to the temperature and with availability of the rainfall. No, there is such a significant change in the rainfall, which caused the floods and such type of destructive effects over this region. So, as I said, the factor the melting of the snow and glacier. With this, so that's why it's played definitely in future. So why we should have to be at least, because it's not necessary that all the time the weather will be favor for us and that will supply the water and will enhance the water resources. Maybe such type in, because what we are looking to the environmental condition of the at national level, at regional level, so that's going worse to worse situation. So that may affect whatever the meteorological or hydrological situation, it could badly affect maybe in future. So that's why at the end I will say that we must, whatever the water resources from rain, from glaciers, from snow that is available, we must have to take care of that and we have to manage for that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable General Yasin Sahib, Riyaz Sahib, my brother Rana Sahib, Assalamu alaikum. Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a privilege and a pleasure to be here with members of the Diplomatic Corps, eminent board members, and our very distinguished students over here. May I request somebody from the administration to just request our caterers over there to keep the sound level low in the dishes, etc. That would be very helpful. Ladies and gentlemen, the brief remarks you heard of Mr. Riyaz, the chief meteorologist, do take them to heart. As an aviator, I can tell you one thing. Any aviator who did not listen to the meteorological report and took off without due preparation of flight planning met his or her doom. And the reason being is that it is not just hearsay, it is not guesswork, it is an exact science. It is by the numbers. And I'm not talking about many years ago. When I started flying in 1989, 1990, when we used to go above 18,000 feet, there used to be something called pilot reports, PIREPs, to basically correlate the weather pattern up there above 18,000 feet to what the meteorologists used to predict. But now the reports that come in are so accurate that the pilot reports and plus the meteorological reports, their level of accuracy is in the 98 to 99%. Today, those of you who've got smartphones and all of the people in this room, I'm sure you've got your smartphones, just download applications. Before I start talking about the water resources and energy and economy of Pakistan, just download an app. And you'll find apps predicting the weather pattern in temperature on Mars and the moon as of now, real time. That is the level of prediction of this science. You can predict the temperature in the upper ionosphere today at 125,000 feet above the surface right now. That is the level of prediction. So when the chief meteorologist of Pakistan is telling us that there is a problem, ladies and gentlemen, I think we better start paying heed to this issue and start preparing for it. Now, the area that I represent in the National Assembly of Pakistan is called Haripur district. And I'm just going to lay out the brief geography of the water reservoirs that are there. And then I'm just going to walk you through the Indus Cascade. And there are people in this room, Mayor Ali Shah Sahib is there, other people are here who are eminently more qualified than me to talk about the water issues, and I'm not going to go out from my ambit of the energy sector that the Ministry of Water Resources can take care of. Shah Sahib is smiling, as well as the foreign affairs on the other aspects. But let me just say that the constituency that I represent, there is Tarbela Dam, there is Ghazi Barotha, and there is Khanpur Dam. These are reservoirs that today are the backbone of this country's water reservoir system. Then you have a large reservoir in the shape of Mangla Dam, and then multiple small reservoirs across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do the studies, and this I'm talking about some of the World Bank studies, the other expert studies done by our Ministry for Water Resources, and you will see that if you put in a large water reservoir today, the increase in GDP will be approximately a minimum of 1% per year. I repeat, an increase in the gross domestic product of Pakistan of 1% per year. Pakistan's gross domestic product per year today is $300 billion. That means approximately it's going to increase by $3 billion a year. That is the impact. One water reservoir coming in today. For that, we have to have political unanimity across all provinces. I'm not going to go down that road either. But what I would like to add is that we have to also see not just our agricultural needs, not just our water needs, but we have to also think about, ladies and gentlemen, of our food security, our energy requirements, our food security requirements, and another given constraint. There's a very interesting Twitter photograph that's going around. I suggest you see it. It shows the glacier positions in the North Pole in 1929 and what you have today. The glaciers have melted. And with the rate of the glacier melts and the increase in temperature across the world, fresh water is fast becoming a scarce commodity. And how do we utilize that? How do we utilize a resource which is becoming a scarce commodity for unlimited requirements, which is a classic economics problem? So that is where the conundrum is, and that is where we have to apply our collective genius across the world. This is not an issue for just Pakistan. It is an issue which affects the region. It is an issue which affects the globe today. So now, where is it that we are headed? Ladies and gentlemen, if we talk about the Indus Cascade, and I'll come to Balochistan as well and the water requirements over there, but let's correlate all these issues and where technology is leading us. Right now today, ladies and gentlemen, if you go up on the river cascade, there's a place called Bunji, right about approximately 45 minutes south of Gilgit near Jaglot. There is a hydropower potential run of the river, approximately 8,000 megawatts. You come down, there's Basha de Amir, there is Dasu, there is Patan. So all these projects along the Indus Cascade till you come to Tarbela. Tarbela or Mangla were not just isolated projects. The plan was to have these cascade of projects over there. Why? To have longevity of these other mega reservoirs, to reduce the silting and extend the life of these projects. The main reservoirs were made, but then call them check dams or the upstream dams were never made. And just to keep things in perspective, and just as a historical footnote, I still have the pen set with which my grandfather, late President Ayub Khan, signed the Indus Water Treaty and the World Bank. That is still sitting on my desk over there. So after the 60s, the dams were not made. So having said that, ladies and gentlemen, it is on the energy side, I'm going to talk about it, that all this is in the pipework, that we have to create these series of dams. And I was just talking with General Yassin Saab, that today our energy mix, and what is it today? We are dependent, more than 65% of our energy mix, we are dependent upon imported fuels. What does that do to our current account deficit? We are sending out dollars outside of the country to bring in imported fuel, bring in an expensive form of energy and produce expensive energy. And then we say, why are our exports not rising? Because we've just made our exports uncompetitive with the imported fuel source, which is tied to the international markets, which is tied to the dollar rates in the international market. So our government's policy right now, ladies and gentlemen, and which we've put into motion, is to flip this energy matrix on its head and make sure that by the year 2030, 70% of our energy mix is from indigenous and renewable sources. Today we have renewable energy approximately from sun and solar of approximately 1,600 megawatts. We are ramping it up to 8,000 megawatts by the year 2025. This is not a pipe dream, this is reality, and it's already been set into motion. Number two, we are going to ramp it up to approximately 20,000 megawatts or 30% of our energy mix by the year 2030. And by that time, our energy installed capacity will be 55,000 megawatts. Today, it is 31,000 megawatts. So on the larger base, you have a larger renewable energy mix. Add to that, in the other countries, these two various sources I'm talking about, whether it's solar or I'm talking about wind, these are called variable renewable energy. Water resources, ladies and gentlemen, in the international community, they also categorize it as a renewable energy, but we categorize it separately. So if you include the water resources, and I've just mentioned the Indus Cascade, which we are going to inshallah harness. So we are looking at adding more than 18 to 20,000 megawatts of hydro resources as well to our energy mix. So taking it to almost 70%, add nuclear energy, we are going to ramp it up to 10%, add charcoal. So overall, we are looking at 70 to 80% of indigenous energy resources by the end of 2030, and a large portion of that will also be hydro resources. Another important factor in all this matrix, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about hydro resources, it is not just the flood irrigation system that we've been used to. The world has moved on. We have to make sure that this resource is jealously guarded and used. We are already finalizing plans with WAPTA. Shah Saab knows about it. I've spoken to General Muzammal, and we'll be soon, inshallah, the PC1 is almost ready, of putting floating solar panels on Tarbela Dam, putting floating solar panels on Mangla Dam and on Ghazi Barota, as well as Khanpur Dam. So all these large water reservoirs, we already have a grid station, so the floating solar panels is going to do two things: reduce evaporation, reduce water wastage, increase cheap energy. In addition to that, along the canals in Punjab, they're also using their canals. We are in coordination with the Energy Ministry of Punjab that they should put solar panels on their canals so that their lift irrigation systems can be run off the solar grid. And the rate of decrease in the energy of renewable energy, we used to be talking about 12 cents, 13 cents a couple of years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, it's come down to as low. The established rate today is less than 4.25 cents, and it is going down day by day. And with the new renewable energy policy, we'll have competitive bidding for all the new energy projects, so you will have a downward sloping curve of energy projects coming in. What does that mean for water resources? When we talk about Balochistan, ladies and gentlemen, over there are 29,000 tube wells that are being run. This was an old Asian Development Bank scheme funded with the government of Pakistan and the government of Balochistan and the Asian Development Bank. Unfortunately, what is happening is that with the rate of pumping of this precious resource of the sweet water, they have now resorted to water mining. So we are switching this resource, we are mapping out all 29,000 tube wells, we are mapping it out and converting it to solar, but with one other additional caveat we are putting in, that once they are converted to solar, we'll again be, it's going to be a catch-22 situation. You have a more cheaper energy source with which to pump out the resource and do flood irrigation. No, there has to be a mitigation of risk of depleting this resource. How? By creating a reservoir system that if this resource is taken out, you store it in such a way that through the porosity of the soil, it goes back into the subsoil, we store it, and then also promote agricultural techniques that basically are environment friendly, that are number two, efficient in terms of water efficiency, and our experts are working on that. So there has to be a paradigm shift, ladies and gentlemen, towards our food security. And I'm not just talking about our 4 major crops. When I was in the Ministry of Finance, and even today in the ECC meetings, we look at the erratic increase or decrease of cropping patterns of vegetables, of other food items. And why? Because our storage capacities are not there. The cold chains have to be built up. Your buffering of these products has to be there. So newer techniques, food chains, all linked at the end of the day to water. So the availability of water is so essential that there's a map in my room, in my office, ladies and gentlemen, and it shows the distribution system of all our 132 11 kVA network. And you can tell, just as if you open a Google Earth at night and you look at Pakistan's map, you will see that where is the population concentrated. It's a Y. And why is it? And I mean the letter Y, not WHY. And it's a Y because all our population, 200 million people, are concentrated along our 5 rivers and then along the Indus itself. And our lighting patterns suggest that, and our distribution system suggests that. Why is it not in the middle of a desert? Because life is essential, water is essentially life, ladies and gentlemen. Same is the case with the Nile Delta. Same is the case with the Euphrates. Same is the case with the Tigris. Same is the case with India, with the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, all these rivers. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, we have to look, and if we look at cultivating our deserts, if we have to convert our deserts, which is the future for us, we have to make sure that this precious resource is used economically, it's used efficiently, with investments in science and technology, not just by creating large reservoirs and just doing flood irrigation. No, we have to make sure that we use it diligently, very studiously, and only then at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, can we come up with a plan which is integrated. The Ministry of Water Resources, the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Food, the Ministry of National Food Security, and most of all, ladies and gentlemen, after the 18th Amendment, the provinces, the onus comes onto the provinces itself. The irrigation departments, the water and sanitation departments, what we need to do with that as well. We have to salvage, recycle, look at every ounce of water that we are using, so that whatever goes out into the Arabian Sea, it is just enough to check the river, the Arabian Sea, from encroaching up from Kotri upwards. The flow of the water is just enough to check the saline water coming upstream. But more than that, we need to harness our resources, because today, ladies and gentlemen, our water reservoirs are fast depleting and we don't have enough of a reserve parachute. You look at some of the countries, and the experts will give you examples, the United States, with more than, I think, 2 to 3 years of water resources and storage over there. We are nowhere close. So keeping this thing in mind, our water economy, at the end of the day, is going to drive our energy economy, ladies and gentlemen. It will drive our food economy, our food security. It will drive the prosperity of our nation. This resource is of paramount importance to all of us. So at the end of this brief talk, I would just like to also mention, Rana Saab mentioned India. I think I would just like to say that if India tries to meddle in any way with the Indus Basin Treaty or using water as a weapon, the answer from Pakistan will be swift. The answer from Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, these are treaties that they have signed on, and Pakistan will defend its sovereignty at every level. India got a taste of it when it had the Pulwama hoax, and when their Air Force did a false flag operation or a bogus operation in Balakot. They came and encroached upon the territorial integrity of Pakistan. The very next day, our valiant fighter pilots, they shot down 2 Indian aircraft, and the response to India, the message was loud and clear that you cannot get away by encroaching on the territorial integrity of Pakistan. Our armed forces and the people of Pakistan have proved it again and again and again. So the message to India is loud and clear. And on the Kashmir issue, let me just say, because at the end of the day, I am a political worker of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, and on this issue, the nation of Pakistan, every single person, man, woman, child, everyone is united that the atrocities being committed by India in Kashmir are unacceptable. The world has to rise up and denounce it and put a stop to the atrocities in Indian-held Kashmir. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan Zindabad. Thank you very much.
To the Minister, Honourable Minister, and Mr. Riaz. Mr. Riaz, you can ask questions which I have also in mind about the causes of this change in the weather system, and what are the resources Pakistan has. Does Pakistan have a warning system, early warning system, like other countries have? So you can begin the question, but please keep it.
In the schools, right from the beginning, that how to save water. And it has to come from there upward, and they are very conscious about it. What are we doing, or what our government is doing on the federal level and the provinces level to teach the children and the masses how to save water?
So it is of extreme importance that we do that. You can't stress this factor enough. I'll give you a small example. I was in a village right up in Koistan, and I was happy to see that the children and the people who were there, even though there's abundant rainfall at above 7,000 feet in Koistan up there, but it was a village right up in the mountains, and they were harvesting rainwater, to store rainwater. So I think more and more we have to realize, inculcate amongst our children in the social sciences as extracurricular activities, the media. The power of the media cannot be overstated in this day and age, sir. I think whether it is all the channels, they have a corporate social responsibility, amount of airtime should be given, but this thing must be imparted across the board, across the social media streams, that rather than just the government campaign, I think we have to realize that technology has moved on. It is everyone together in this room. None of us, we shouldn't just wait for the government to act. It is every one of us as individuals to take the lead and inculcate this and start acting on it. I think you've got very viable web portals, Twitter trends, etc. Start saving water, water conservation, and it becomes a hit. So It's not just the government alone, every one of us can create a revolution in water conservation on our own as well.
Yes, please raise your hand.
आफ्ताब हाँ हाँ मतलब उमर अयूब साहब से मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है कि आज़ाद कश्मीर को अगर देखा जाए तो वहाँ पे नेचर नहीं किया जा रहा। आपसे मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है कि आप भी जो गवर्नमेंट है आप क्या समझते हैं कि
Azad Kashmir is that we've just included Azad Patan hydropower project in the CPEC list, and the Karod hydropower project, we inaugurated that approximately a few months ago. The building process itself and Kohala as well is online. So these are large projects in a series of projects that we are seeing, and we have told the AJK government as well that one of their chief sources of revenue will be from the water usage charges derived from your water and energy requirements that will be produced over there. And we are working very closely with both the AJK government, the Ministry of Water Resources and the Ministry of Energy.
Thank you. Yes. Virisar Nazir.
Question, I can tell you offline my personal feelings on that. I'll be more than happy to discuss it offline with you. I think you got an indication of what I just mentioned. Let's leave it at that. I think it will. If I give my own interpretation or my feelings, they'll be all hell to pay by the evening.
Let me actually.
India will in the end get what India desired. So that's my response. That it will be befitting response from Pakistan.
Of the country making energy plans, rather than, this is not the age when we need just books and information is all.
Thank you, Dr. Sabha. Very pertinent question, and to answer that, you'll be happy to know, Dr. Sabha, that we are active as well as LUMS in the engineering department. In fact, they were one of the key resource voltage transmission lines. We call them strings. They're almost 6 tons each, and that coating used to create with the right, the earthing was just shattering those hairline fractures on the insulators and the transmission lines. So the students' Pakistan's history, the energy demand and supply of all projects that had to come, the location, complete scientific roadmap. It took us almost a year to do. It's the academia. So we are just putting the final academia. It's a triple helix approach, what we call. It's the business, the academia, and the government. So this triple in Karachi, the waste that the city generates is 15,000 tons per day. So we are looking at putting in, already the offers are coming in by various entities.
Basically, when we talk about the water, there is utilization factor of water. When have a law, how they use the water for any plan to design a policy, a policy, a rule, a law, flow, and onward. So this is a very important factor. We need to
that how do you bound people to use water? No, there's technologies with which you can conserve water. One is a pricing mechanism. Always remember, in a market economy or in any other economy, the people at the lower end of the socio-economic spectrum, they can't afford that. So what do? You deny them that? No. So these are some of the issues that you have to contend with as a policy. These are the issues that the governments, the municipalities, and most important of all, people themselves have to start thinking about. So we just can't leave it that this is the purview of the government, they'll create a policy and it will come down. No, sir. I think we have to go beyond that.
I think we would also like to ask our other speaker if he'd like to answer. Would you like to answer?
For various sectors, like for water, for floods, there is a very specialized weather system. There is specialized flood forecasting division, so that's forecast. And I will give the example that most of the watershed area that cross the border, except the Indus Water Basin, and there is a problem for what the communication is concerned, what the exact information is concerned. But the meteorological department has established their system such a way that if we are not getting those information directly from there, still their system is so much that it can get the forecast for those flows which is coming from the cross border. So there is a definitely in other areas specifically for the flash flooding there is the meteorological department has early warning system there. A drought situation as we mentioned that it is
you store it and you use it in a way that is very, very expeditious, which is energy, which is water efficient. Mind you, the days of flood irrigation is gone. We are, even for rice, etc., we are using, the newer technologies is using lower water. That answers this question. The other important question, food for thought, that I want to leave with the audience is, there are 2-3 things. Number one is the increase in your gross domestic product of the country. The official GDP, it is $300 billion. You put in one reservoir and it jumps up by $3 billion a year in productivity. Number one. You put in multiple and you can do the maths yourself. Number 2 important factor for the audience is the use of technology. There are 4 new technologies coming in. There's genetics, robotics, information technology, nanotechnology. Each one of these technologies are interlinked. You just look at, and we are at the advent of where the microprocessor is concerned, where we are looking at binary processing. Those of you from a scientific background, when a microprocessor processes any information, it's in binary, 0 and 1. We are going into the realm of quantum computing. And the difference is there's debate going on. The Google's quantum computer solved a multiple linear equation in approximately 222 seconds versus what a faster supercomputer could do in 10,000 years. That's a paradigm shift in the analysis, in the way that we can use our resources in the future, in water conservation, designing and implementing our use in agriculture, in genetics, in water resources, etc. The third more important factor is, and coming back to the GDP, is that if our official, our quote-unquote, our official GDP is 300 billion, we have a large informal sector whose size is equivalent to that of our formal GDP, and that is also $300 billion. So in all, our overall GDP is $600 billion. So when you give an increase in that GDP, you can see the effect going right down at the grassroots level. And just to put scale, what does this $600 billion formal and informal GDP sound like? For a developing country, informal sector's economy, approximately 50% and above of the GDP is usually in an informal sector. For a developed country like the United States, almost 17 to 20% of the economy is informal. So just to keep apples to apples. And then another aspect is, for one of the largest petrochemical rich countries in the world, Muslim world, Saudi Arabia, its GDP is $850 billion. So we don't have petrochemical resources, but still if you look at our GDP, it's not a small GDP. Add to that our population base, add to that rising standards of living, and add to that the opportunities of investment in engineering, in hydrological sciences, in agriculture, and just energy alone. I'll give you some examples. Alternate energy market, right now in the generation what we are doing, it's a $30 billion market right there. Wind turbines, solar panels, and these manufacturing capabilities are going to come to Pakistan as we speak. There are already discussions taking place. Similarly, if you look at transmission, another $20 billion in transmission lines. You go downstream, distribution, $20 billion. Water resources, the large dams, the small dams. So all these factors, when you bring it together, it's not a small market that we're looking at. We are looking at a market size in hydrology or in hydro resources, which Mr. Shah Sahib is associated with, Mayor Shah Sahib, and energy. So we are talking about a market size of over $130, $140 billion in just the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I had already last question, but please go ahead. Keep it very short.
money is also there. The money is also there. It will be used. And just remember that was when you talk about giving a impetus to people, when you try to galvanize people, it wasn't that you were going to build a dam with that money. It was to give that drive, to give that sense of urgency. That was the focus of the former Chief Justice, and we laud that effort. The money is very much there. The drive of the government is very much there. And in the next session, Mr. Mayor Shah Sahab is going to go into the details of it. As I mentioned, all these projects, when you talk about, say, when you go above from Patan, you go about Basha Dami, you talk about Dasu, you talk about Bunji, all these projects or Thakur, all these projects are on the Indus Cascade. After Thakur, then the river Indus goes into the upper reservoir area of the Tarbela Dam. So all these projects are very much alive and there. And the fifth extension project of the Tarbela Dam, that is now also being done. So everything is correlated with this. In addition, the Mangla raising had taken place. In addition, the projects that are coming up in Azad Kashmir. So all these are cross-linked with one another.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Minister and Mr. Riaz. Please join me to give a big round of applause to our keynote speaker and to the Honourable Minister for elaborating very boldly responding to the questions, not ducking here. So let's hear what Sana has to say.
एक मिनट सर, हमारे लिए वेट कीजिएगा, फोटोग्राफर साइड पे आते हैं. ओके सर. साइड पे हो जाएं.
I would like to request the respected minister and the respected speakers to please remain on stage. And I would also like to request all the respected speakers of the entire conference to join us on stage.
सर ये बताइएगा कि आपकी जानिब से और हमें यही बताया गया कि मुतबादिल तवानाई पॉलिसी तैयार की गई है, इसको भी कंसेंसस से बताया गया. उसके बाद वज़ीर तवानाई सिंध का बयान आया जिसमें उन्होंने स्पेशल आज़ाद किए, उसको तो ये तो नहीं है कि दोबारा क्राइसिस बनने जा रहे हैं, फिर हमारी पॉलिसी बनेगी. मुझे कंसर्न दूर किए हैं, करने जा रही है या फिर.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. इसमें आप साथियों की इन्फॉर्मेशन के लिए जो ऑल्टरनेट एनर्जी डेवलपमेंट बोर्ड की मीटिंग हुई थी, जिसका मैं वहाँ चेयरमैन भी हूँ, वहाँ पे एनर्जी सेक्रेटरी एनर्जी सिंध को मैंने 3 बार ख़ुद पूछा. मैंने कहा इस पे हमारा इत्तेफाक राय है. 3 बार यूनानिमिटी ऑफ व्यू, और उसने दोनों हाथ खड़े करके किए कि जी बिल्कुल हमारा यूनानिमस डिसीजन है. जिस वक्त ऑल्टरनेट एनर्जी पॉलिसी डेवलपमेंट पॉलिसी हमने पास की बोर्ड से, तो उसके बाद किसी का कहना मेरा ख्याल है ये मुनासिब नहीं होगा और गलत बयानी होगी. आपका ये क्वेश्चन, उनके वजूहात क्या हैं वो उनसे पूछिएगा. ये अभी CCI में आ जाएगा, काबीना ने भी पास कर दिया है. वे उसके फ़ायदा क्या हुआ कि हमारे अगले जो प्रोजेक्ट्स आएंगे इंशाअल्लाह ताला वो सारे के सारे कंपेटिटिव भी आएंगे. और इस ऑल्टरनेट एनर्जी डेवलपमेंट पॉलिसी से पहले जो हमने स्टैंडर्ड प्रोजेक्ट्स जो थे वो हमने थ्रू कराए हैं. जो मुस्लिम लीग नून हुकूमत ने उन प्रोजेक्ट्स को ख़त्म कर दिया था इस वजह से कि LNG को वो लाना चाह रहे थे तकरीबन 3000 मेगावाट्स के, वो भी हमने क्राइटेरिया बना के साफ शफाफ तरीके से वो भी हमने थ्रू कराए हैं. करेक्ट. हमारा ये जहन में रखिएगा कि पाकिस्तान की पर कैपिटा फी कस बिजली की जो मतलब यूजेज है वो तकरीबन 500 किलोवाट है. आपका जो पड़ोस का मुल्क है वहाँ पे एनर्जी की जो यूजेज है वो तकरीबन 950 किलोवाट है. चीन की 2500 किलोवाट है, अमेरिका की 11000 है. तो हमने अपनी एनर्जी की और बिजली की तवानाई की जो यूजेज है वो हमने ज़्यादा बढ़ानी है और हमने मुतबादिल ज़राए जो हैं वो अपने सिस्टम में लाने हैं. उसकी बुनियादी वजह यह है कि हम लोग चाहते हैं पाकिस्तान तहरीक इंसाफ की हुकूमत जो है और इमरान खान साहब का विजन यही है कि मुस्तकबिल में बिजली की कीमतें जो हैं वो कम हो. और जिस तरह मैंने अभी पहले भी बात की थी कि हमारी हुकूमत की पॉलिसी ये है कि मुतबादिल ज़राए से बिजली लाई जाए. उसके साथ तकरीबन 20,000 मेगावाट जब आएगी 2030 तक اور اس سے پہلے 2025 تک 8000 میگا واٹ. تو اس کے ساتھ بجلی کے جو آلٹرنیٹ انرجی کے جو پروجیکٹس ہوں گے اس کے ساتھ انشاءاللہ بجلی کی قیمتوں میں کمی آئے گی, نہ کہ کیونکہ وہ ہمارے اپنے ذرائع سے ہوں گے. ہمارا ٹارگٹ یہی ہے, کیونکہ سابقہ حکومتوں نے کوئلے سے کی بجائے میں کہوں گا کہ گیس پہ اور باقی جو مہنگے ترین پروجیکٹس تھے اور فیولز تھے تیل, ان سے انہوں نے بجلی پہ زیادہ بنانے کا انحصار کیا تھا.
اس وقت گردشی قرضے کی تازہ ترین صورتحال کیا ہے, اداروں کے ریسیویبل اور پیبل, اس پہ بھی تھوڑی سی
اس وقت میں فلوز میں بات کروں گا. اس وقت جو ہمارے فلوز چل رہے ہیں, یہ ذہن میں رکھیے گا کہ مسلم لیگ نون کی حکومت نے ایک سال میں تقریباً 436 ارب روپے کا گردشی قرضے میں اضافہ کیا تھا ایک سال کے اندر, اور تقریباً جس وقت وہ حکومت گئی تھی تو تقریباً 845-850 ارب روپے کا انہوں نے گردشی قرضہ چھوڑا تھا. اور اس کا جو بہاؤ ہے گردشی قرضوں کا, جس ریٹ سے وہ گردشی قرضہ زیادہ ہو رہا تھا, وہ تقریباً آپ کا ماہانہ میں آپ کو بتاتا ہوں تقریباً 39 ارب روپے تھا. اور تقریباً 14 مہینے پہلے جس وقت ہم لوگ آئے تھے تو اس کے بعد ہم نے اقدامات کیے, اس کو ہم نے پہلے 26 ارب پہ لایا, پھر 22, پھر اس وقت جو ہے گردشی قرضوں کا بہاؤ جو ہے وہ تقریباً 10 سے 11 ارب روپے کا ہے, اور سن 2020 کے آخر تک انشاءاللہ یہ منیمائز ہو کے تقریباً زیرو تک آ جائے گا. تقریباً آپ سمجھ لیں کہ اس وقت 800 کے قریب فلو آپ کا جو ہے وہ 850 کے قریب ہی ہے. میں فلو جو اس وقت تک جو آپ کا مسلم لیگ نون نے چھوڑا تھا وہ تقریباً آپ کا 435 ارب تھا, اور جو آپ کا سٹاک ہے وہ تقریباً آپ کا 800 کے قریب ہے. نہیں, آپ کا یہ ذہن میں رکھیے گا کہ جو تیزی کا جس ریٹ سے سرکولر ڈیٹ انکریز ہو رہا تھا وہ تقریباً 39 بلین روپیز اے منتھ تھا, اس کو ہم نے کم کر کے 10 ارب پہ لے آئے ہیں, اور یہ کم ہو جائے گا انشاءاللہ. اس کو زیرو کریں گے, پھر اس کو سیپریٹلی ٹریٹ کریں گے. کورٹ میں ہے اس وقت, جی کورٹ میں, اس کو ہم لوگ پیروی کر رہے ہیں. جیسی کورٹ ڈیسائیڈ کرے گا ہم لوگ چاہتے ہیں کہ وہ کنزیومرز کو واپس ہو. آپ نے امید ہے اس ہفتے یا نیکسٹ ویک انشاءاللہ آپ کا بالکل بجلی کا ہم لوگ کرتے رہے ہیں پریس کانفرنس. گیس کا بھی ڈیو ہے, وہ ضرور ہم نے کرنا ہے انشاءاللہ گیس سیکٹر پہ. اینی تھنگ ایلس؟ بہت شکریہ جی. نہیں, ڈیمانڈ اینڈ سپلائی کے بارے میں
سر باجوڑ کا جو میں نے ایشو بتایا وہ ذرا سیریس تھا, ڈسکس کریں.
آپ سمجھیں جو ریٹ جو انکریز تھا 39 بلین روپیز ہمارا تھا, اس کو ہم لوگ کام کرتے ہیں.